for your wide and varied constituencies, that they may always keep hope alive through the many changes scenes of life. Psalms 42:5 asks the question, why art thou cast down, O my soul, and why art thou disquieted in me? Hope thou in God, for I shall yet praise him for the help of his countenance. Keep hope alive. Trust in the Lord. Delight thyself also in the Lord. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall direct your paths. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we enter your gates with thanksgiving and into your courts with praise. We thank you that our nation, Commonwealth of Bahamas, have wholeheartedly embraced you, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as our God. Therefore, we claim the blessings of Almighty God for our nation, in keeping with Psalms 33:12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he had chosen for his own inheritance. We pray for Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and his delegates who are addressing the United Nations on matters pertaining to our nation. May they find favor among all our nations, keep them safe, and grant them journeying mercies as they return home. Now, Heavenly Father, Lord God, our righteousness and truth, grant to our Governor General, Dame Marguerite Pinley, and Honorable C.A. Smith, who is being sworn in to serve as assistant to our Governor General. Grant to them both divine favors, wisdom, and strength to carry out their assigned duties, pleasing in your sight. Grant to members of Parliament and all in position of responsibility the guidance of your Holy Spirit. May they never lead the nation wrongly through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but laying aside all private interest and prejudice. Keep in mind their responsibility to seek to improve the condition of all mankind. So may your kingdom come, and your name be hallowed, praying together the prayer Jesus taught his disciples to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, will be done in heaven. Give us this day and bread. Give us our trespasses. Forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Good morning, honorable members. When the business of the House suspended, we were at first reading on the order of business. The chair understands that there has been an agreement to move back onto the order of business. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. We have spoken to the side opposite, and they have agreed to allow us to go back on the agenda so that we can have communications by ministers. And so we thank decide opposite for them.
So we would resume from the point of communications by and statements by ministers. But just before we do that, I have been advised that we have a grouping with us from the Centerville constituency representing the Miss and Little Miss Centerville pageant. And they are accompanied by Mr. Mario Brown. Can you please stand at this time? The chair has also acceded to the member for Centerville bringing remarks. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Centerville.
That I love representing the Centerville constituency. And this is one indication of the work we're doing to empower constituents in our constituency. So this endeavor is keeping with our commitment to lift the spirit and confidence of our community and to assist our young ladies in their development to be strong and intelligent women. The pageant is scheduled for Saturday, the 21st at 5 p.m. at the Stephen Dillett Primary School, and the tickets are $5. I just wanted to thank the Seashells because they'll be going to lunch in the Centerville constituency in Mount Royal at Seashells for their accommodation, as well as thank some other persons like Faye Brennan, Mr. Mario Brown, and Mr. Higgins from the constituency that helped to keep our pageant and our community together. We would have worshipped at New Wine Ministries on Sunday with the young contestants celebrating New Wine Ministries' 12th anniversary. And New Wine Ministry is also on Mount Royal. And I want to say congratulations to Bishop Rudolph Balfour and First Lady Linda Balfour on their 12th year anniversary. Also during that time, the two evangelists were ordained during the church service, and they were Evangelist Chanel Robinson and Evangelist Patricia Maxwini. So I also wanted to congratulate them as well. Now there's also the Deputy to the Governor General, Mr. C.A. Smith. Also want to take this opportunity to congratulate him as well. However, I just wanted to mention that the father of the person who would have written the article on Saturday, Royston Jones' father would have taught me in College of the Bahamas. He taught me business math, and his mother is a Centervillian. Very good people, so no doubt I believe it to be an honest mistake, and I want to encourage Royston Jones in his efforts to be the best he can be. And I beg leave, just one more thing. I want to also underscore the questions of the rules, and I know you would have selected.
Honorable member, honorable member, the chair has already exercised its discretion in your favor in permitting you to even introduce the matter as it relates to an article that appeared in The Guardian on Saturday.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not.
The chair is not acceding to any further comments or statements.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'm much obliged.
Thank you, honorable member. Introduction and swearing in of new members. Laying of documents by ministers. Statements
None,
and Pardon? Oh, the chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo Town.
by ministers.
Thank you, honorable member. Statements and communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Carmichael.
It please you, Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of the wonderful people of Carmichael as always. I thank them for the opportunity for me to be here. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, just as I have 3 communications, and as I bring them, sir, I want to offer condolences to the family of the late Sammy Gardner. Sammy came back to Bahamas when I was in school, and he believed that he was the best table tennis player in the world. And he always bragged about it. And to his son Dwayne, to his daughter Delia, to Clara Cooper, and to my friend Rupert Gardner, I offer sincere condolences. Speaker, first communication that I have is fairly long, the other 2 are short. But this one deals with the pre-qualification process that has recently been introduced by the Ministry of Public Works. And it's very important for all contractors in this country and anyone who seeks to do business with the government to understand what we're seeking to do. Speaker, the Ministry of Public Works is responsible for the infrastructure upon which the lives of Bahamians and visitors to our shores depends. Due to the archipelagic, I always have difficulty with that word, archipelagic nature of our country, the provision of adequate infrastructure is a delicate balancing act between needs, wants, and the capital and recurrent budgets. The requests for assistance we receive on a daily basis from members of Parliament, and everybody here has asked for assistance in various ways. Community groups, churches, individuals, and through the ministry's hotline and Facebook page could easily reach 100 on any given day. Since being granted the honor of being appointed as Minister of Public Works, I have seen firsthand how the staff of the ministry attempts to juggle the resources available to them to meet the myriad of demands. We are working to improve their working conditions through providing adequate additional staff, vehicles, and other information, technology, tools that will permit them to work smarter, not harder. However, sir, even with the internal resources of the ministry, any hope of success rests largely in the hands of our private sector partners and the development of the built environment in our country. Ministry of Public Works is skilled in preparing designs and scopes of works. However, if the level of skill in implementation of the designs is not matched, then there will be delays in completion, poor quality work product, and extended costs. The construction industry is facing many imminent challenges, the 2 most pressing of which are the commencement and enforcement of the Construction Contractors Act and the Ministry of Finance's move to e-procurement, where all suppliers of goods and services to the government will have to be registered on www.suppliers.gov.bs website, and all procurement for goods and services will be done online. Speaker, the Ministry of Public Works, in collaboration with the Department of Information Technology, is in the process of updating its contractor database and also the tendering and payment certificate process. To this end, my ministry has developed a new pre-qualification process and documentation which will enable all qualified contractors to be eligible to participate in development projects. And this is very important, Mr. Speaker, particularly as we are now doing these summer repairs. And everybody must comply who seeks to do work for the government. So, through the completion of the pre-qualification document, contractors will be granted the opportunity to pre-qualify, to be placed in the Ministry of Public Works' database of contractors. This database will inform the ministry's project officers of which contractors are pre-qualified for various types of capital works. To ensure the quality of contractors, evaluation is done through a pre-qualification analysis of the submitted document. The pre-qualification document is designed to assist the contractor in providing information in support of their selection. The document allows them to demonstrate that they have suitable experience, capacity, financial standing, and are aware of health and safety procedures to properly execute the works. Once contractors are pre-qualified in particular categories, they will have the opportunity to be invited to bid on a rotational basis. So there's not going to be any favors done, and this minister is not going to be able to do favors for anybody. Further, contractors may be deleted from the list if the quality of performance falls below acceptable levels. Conversely, they may be elevated to higher categories when ability to advance has been demonstrated. So I want to touch on the application process. Interested contractors are requested to complete a pre-qualification application form detailing the type of organization, experience, financial status, equipment, and personnel capability, etc. In addition, they are required to submit copies of their current business license, a bank reference letter, letters of reference from 2 clients, a current tax compliance certificate, their VAT registration if they wish to be considered for projects at greater than $100,000, or their tax identification number certificate for consideration for projects under $50,000. The application forms may be obtained by emailing a request to mopwcontractors@gmail.com. Let me say that again, mopwcontractors@gmail.com. The application form will be sent by return email. Once the contractor has completed the form and compiled the requisite documents, they have 2 options to submit the information. The preferred option is for the contractor to scan all of the documents into one electronic file and email it to the aforementioned email address, or they can hand deliver the original document to the quantity surveying section of the Ministry of Public Works building on John F. Kennedy Drive. Emphasize, Mr. Speaker, that this is going to be a blind process to the minister. And so people coming there asking the minister to be able to put them on the list, I cannot do it and will not have the ability to do it. Secondly, the pre-qualification document. The pre-qualification document and attachments enable the Ministry of Public Works to determine if the contractor is suitably qualified to competently complete public works on behalf of the Bahamian people. The contractor is evaluated based on 8 criteria. First, organization identity. Second, organization information. Third, financial management. Fourth, contractor superintendence. Fifth, health and safety. Sixth, technical performance. Seventh, references. And 8, category and location of work sought. Speaker, I beg permission to go through these categories. First, organizational identity. The contractor supplies contact information and details of the business. This information includes the name of the business, address for correspondence, telephone number, the name of the person completing the questionnaire, and their position in the organization. Also to be included is an email address for all correspondence in connection with the application. If a consortium is applying, they are to provide details of the consortium members and the relationship of the members to the consortium, their respective responsibilities, and the proposed consortium structure. In the case of an application by a consortium, the relative information for all questions must be provided by each member of the consortium. Secondly, organizational information. In this section, the contractor provides the name of directors, owners, a brief description of the main areas of business, and the length of time in business. Third, financial management, business capability. For contractors seeking work valued over $1 million, the contractor is asked to provide details of audited accounts for the last 3 years, showing revenue, cost of sales, gross profit, net profit, and a full balance sheet with current and fixed assets and liabilities with accompanying notes. The contractor also has to provide a detailed account of their financial history, such as financial stability, turnover, profit, obligations, amounts due, and owed financial funds. Also in this section, the contractor is asked to provide details of their principal areas of business, activity, and to indicate to which professional or trade bodies their organization belongs. They are also to provide a company, regional, and project organizational chart relevant to the delivery of the project. For contracts valued under $1 million, a bank reference letter is required, showing that the contractor maintains a bank account in the name of the business and the bank is satisfied with the management of the account. Section 4, contractor superintendents. The contractor has to submit the CVs and resumes for key personnel. For example, project manager, site engineer, and site superintendent. The CV should include a name of the institution attended, courses taken, professional affiliation, and experience of technical personnel. Fifth, health and safety. The contractor's approach to safety and what actions it takes to achieve desired results is detailed in this section. The contractor is required to submit details of any safety organization and the company's health and safety policy. Also, the business is asked to submit details of any loss of life or serious injury which occurred within the organization in the last 3 years, and any prosecutions under health and safety regulations in the last 3 years. Technical ability, performance, and experience, Mr. Speaker. In order to assess technical ability, performance, and experience of the business, the contractor is requested to provide details of any similar construction contracts currently in operation and submit a list of relevant contracts over the last 5 years. The list of projects completed or being undertaken are to be comparable to the categories to those covered by the application in both types of work, the financial spread, and which illustrate technical capabilities, project management, and degree of complexity. Also, details of the company's plant and equipment are requested. All equipment should be described by make, capacity, and year of manufacture. References. Contractors are asked to provide details of 2 previous employers or clients who may be approached to provide a reference for the applicant. Employees of the Ministry of Public Works cannot be used as a reference. Category and location of work sought. In this section, the contractor details the category and location of work sought. This is done by a tick box method. Other requirements and information to be provided. Documents have to be signed in the acceptance of conditions undertaking section, and the following mandatory documents are to be submitted with this document. Current business license, VAT registration certificate or tax identification number certificate, if not VAT registered, current tax compliance certificate, bank reference letter, a copy of health and safety plan, if available, an organization chart. Speaker, I now turn to category of work type. Contractor may apply for the type of work as detailed in several categories. The contractor must not apply for work in a category that they do not have the necessary experience. Those categories are A, civil engineering, which includes drainage, maintenance, drainage systems and deep well installation, storm water culverts, earthworks, and traffic signals. Also included in this category are structures such as retaining walls and bridges. B, marine structures, which includes the construction, repair, and maintenance of docks, harbors, seawalls, etc., in any materials, that is, dredging, timber docks, sheet pile docks, reinforced concrete seawalls, and mass concrete seawalls. C, road and airport construction. This category includes the construction, repairs, and maintenance of roads, which are subdivided into subcategories. 1, minor works, which include road paving under $100,000. 2, major works, road paving over $100,000. And 3, airport runways, aprons, taxiways. Also included in this category is the construction of sidewalks, speed bumps, road pavement markings, and parking lots. D, building construction. Includes the construction, repair, and maintenance of all types of buildings in any materials. E, painting works. Includes internal and external painting of buildings on any surface, including preparation, priming, and finishing. F, landscaping. Including soft and hard landscaping for highways and buildings, including fountains and water gardens. G, electrical works. Includes wiring and installation, repair, and maintenance of electrical equipment, controls, etc. The names of all firms employed, all persons employed in the firm, application in this category who hold 3-phase and single-phase licenses must be quoted. Mr. Speaker, this electrical work issue is very, very important. And I want to note that in our school repairs this summer, there are lots of M&E works. And a general contractor ought not to be seeking to do that work unless they can show that they have a qualified electrician on their staff. Sorry? Mechanical and electrical. Speaker, H, air conditioning installation. Includes the maintenance of all types of air conditioning, equipment, and ducting. And finally, I, plumbing works, which includes the installation, repair, and maintenance of plumbing, including pumps, tanks, etc., in all sorts of buildings, and names of all persons employed by firms making application in this category who hold master plumbing license and journeyman plumbing certificates must be stated. Speaker, there are 4 categories of work value. That is 0 to 49,999. That's the category. That's the only category that the Ministry of Finance allows the minister to sign off on. Category 2, $50,000 to $249,000. Category 3, $250,000 to $999,000. Category 4, $1 million and over. The assessment category. The Ministry of Public Works Evaluation Panel independently rates and scores each pre-qualification document. Each of those document submission is scored out of 100. The marks are allocated as follows for each section. Organization identity, 0. Organization information, 0. Financing and management business capability, 20%. Contractor superintendents, 20%. Health and safety, 15%. Technical performance and experience, 40%. References, 5%. And category and location of work sought, 0%. The panel will also undertake a further assessment of the work done by contractors under previous government contracts based on 5 criteria. For 1, quality of work. 2, time management. 3, resource management. 4, cost management. 5, health, safety, and management. Once contractors are pre-qualified, Mr. Speaker, in particular categories, they will have the opportunity to be invited to bid on rotational basis. Furthermore, contractors may be deleted from the list if the quality of performance falls below acceptable levels or elevated to higher categories when ability to advance has been demonstrated. Coming to the end, Mr. Speaker, current update on the process. There are well over 600 and close to 1,000 pre-qualification document submissions by different contractors, and these are currently being evaluated by the Ministry of Public Works. With respect to public information, sir, an all-day free seminar to introduce this process was held on May 30th, 2018 at St. Joseph's Church Parish Hall on Boyd Road, New Providence. As Minister of Public Works, myself and Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Public Works, Hiram Lewis, brought remarks. The topics of the seminar included pre-qualification documents and assessment, which were criteria presented by Robert Musas, who's the Acting Deputy Director of Ministry of Public Works. E-procurement, presented by Kendra Pratt, Department of Information Technology, Ministry of Finance. Contract pricing and payment procedures, presented by Hugh Hawford, Chief Quantity Surveyor, Ministry of Public Works. Project management and site safety, presented by Timothy Johnson, Acting Chief Architect, Ministry of Public Works. Construction Contractors Act 2016, presented by Melanie Roach, Director of Works. The seminar was a success, with over 400 persons attending the one-day event. It is planned that we will undertake a similar further seminar in Freeport, Grand Bahama, later this month. I believe that will be on the 25th or 26th. Speaker, this is a process that is designed to protect the Bahamian public, and I want to emphasize that. This year, my ministry will expend approximately $120 million on capital projects, and more if the Minister of Finance is more generous in the midterm. This money was derived... Speaker, he's not supposed to comment. This money was derived from Bahamian taxpayers, and at the Ministry of Public Works, we intend to be transparent and accountable stewards. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the communication be brought up.
Yes, 18th. Sorry. Second, Mr. Speaker,
Just a
sorry.
moment, Honorable Member. Order that the communication do lie on the table. Further statements and communications by ministers.
Speaker, the second communication is very short. It's only, and this relates to light poles damaged by careless drivers. Speaker, I wish to issue this short communication on the damage that we have caused to light poles in recent times as a result of careless driving. The airport gateway was constructed at considerable cost to the Bahamian people. It provides a wonderful welcome to this island and enhances our ability to travel to the airport in Western New Providence. The attractive lighting on the gateway adds to the ambiance and improves safety for all drivers. Regrettably, more and more of these innocent stationary light poles are becoming victims of careless drivers in inordinately large numbers. In 2015, under the former administration, the Ministry of Works was forced to enter into a contract to pay $248,823.25 to replace damaged light poles on the airport gateway, on Darling Highway, on the six-legged roundabout, on the road between Government High and College of the Bahamas, on the highway west of Government High, and on the highway to Sanders Beach, due to the negligence of careless drivers. Prior to January of this year, the Ministry of Public Works had been responsible for replacing these damaged light poles. In January, BPL has assumed this responsibility. However, my ministry is responsible for an additional $93,842.15, which is the sum that is required to replace additional light poles that have now been destroyed by irresponsible drivers. BPL has now advised me that they are now responsible for replacing 88 damaged poles. However, to date, they have replaced only 34 of them, which means that 54 more must be replaced. Regrettably, that number continues to rise on a daily basis, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, BPL continues to await the arrival of their latest shipment of poles at a current cost of $1,947 per 30-foot pole. When the next shipment arrives, poles must be replaced throughout New Providence, particularly on Bay Street, the Airport Gateway, Monique Williams Highway, Bethel Avenue, Samilo Butler Highway, and East-West Highway. Speaker, we cannot continue in this manner. I therefore take this opportunity to beg my fellow commuters to exercise care as we traverse the roads and to report persons who they witness hitting poles. There are better uses for our tax money than continually replacing light poles that have been destroyed by uncaring drivers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the communication be brought up. Order that the communication do lie on the table. Further statements and communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Carmichael.
Speaker, this is my final communication this morning, and this relates to the 2018 voluntary separation exercises, Bahamas Power and Light. Speaker, it has long been recognized that Bahamas Power and Light has been overstaffed by hundreds of employees. Excuse me. The government took the position, sir, that the company had to become leaner and more competitive. A debt-ridden utility that relies on government for its continued existence is a drain on the Bahamian taxpayer. Hence, the board initiated a financially attractive, and I emphasize financially attractive, voluntary separation exercise, which had the full support of both of BPL's unions. The VSEP exercise opened for all employees of BPL on May 18th and closed on June 8th, promptly at 4:30 p.m. It must be emphasized that the entire exercise was voluntary, sir. Not one single employee was separated from BPL against their will. Of BPL's 1,038 employees, 314 applications were received, and all of the applications were approved. But separation dates were staggered to ensure that the company's efficiency was not negatively impacted. 219 applicants were approved for departure on June 30th, 2018. 8 applicants were approved for departure in July 2018. 4 applicants were approved for departure in August 2018. 9 applicants were approved for departure in September 2018. 4 applicants were approved for departure in October 2018. 7 applicants were approved for departure in November 2018. 39 applicants were approved for departure in December 2018. 1 applicant was approved for departure in March 2019. 12 applicants were approved for departure in June 2019. 4 applicants were approved for departure in December 2019. And 7 applicants were approved for departure in June 2020. It should be noted, sir, that 59 of the 95 employees who were retained beyond June 30th will be retained as employees with existing benefits, while 36 of them will be retained on contracts. Speaker, BPL made a determination that everyone who wanted to leave should have the opportunity to do so. Hence, many senior employees decided to accept the VSEP. It is therefore accepted that 60 of the positions will need to be replaced as contracted and delayed applicants exit the organization over the next 2 years. Among those positions will be posts for senior leadership in many departments. A Bahamian, in the person of Patrick Rollins, has now been appointed to fill the post of Executive Director, a position that was previously held by DPAT. A Bahamian, Mr. Speaker, in the person of Patrick Rollins, has been appointed to fill the post of Executive Director, a position that was previously held by Deepak Bhatnagar. Mr. Speaker, it is expected that Mr. Rollins will provide valuable support to the CEO, Mr. Whitney Hasty, who is tasked with providing leadership in the management of the company. Mr. Speaker, there is no question that this exercise will improve the financial viability of the company, making it leaner and more competitive, and permitting it to recruit and hire qualified young people within tightly controlled limits. BPL cannot be permitted to balloon out of control to an unmanageable size ever again. Mr. Speaker, based on existing headcount, it is expected that salaries at BPL will be reduced by an average of $13.6 million annually over the next 5 years. This total is an estimate and includes new hires to be added to the payroll. Speaker, we have provided a table. I have provided a table, and members will be able to get copies to illustrate the payouts and the number of employees who have left, and I will go through that. Speaker, this exercise was conducted partially with funding from the Pension Fund Administrator and partially from funds secured by BPL on 2nd July 2017 in its recent borrowing exercise, which this Honorable House recently passed a resolution to authorize. A total of $75 million was received in 2 tranches, less bank fees, legal costs, and stamp tax. That leaves the current loan balances at $211 million and $35 million respectively. Full details of the sums expected to be expended are also set out in tabular form, and I'm going to go through them. Speaker, I take the opportunity to personally thank Mr. Paul Maynard and Mr. Christie for their outstanding leadership and guidance that they have provided to members of their respective unions during this exercise, and their dignified and professional communication with management. I also wish to thank all board members, particularly Executive Chair, Mrs. Darnell Osborne, and Chief Executive Officer Whitney Hasty, for ensuring that this exercise was completed in the best interest of the company, its employees, and the Bahamian people. Speaker, let me go to those 2 charts that I mentioned. The VSEP summary shows that BPL has 99 employees in Abaco. 25 of them applied, 25 were accepted. Customer service, there were 139 employees, 33 applied. In energy supply, there were 202 employees, 61 applied. In family island operations, there were 224 employees, 63 applied. In field operations, there were 215 employees, 75 applied. In finance, there were 26 employees, 4 applied. In health, safety, and environment, there were 11 employees, 4 applied. In human resources, there were 16 employees, 7 applied. In human resources and training, there were 6 employees, 4 applied. In information technology, there were 8 employees and 6 applied. In planning, there were 20 employees, 10 applied. In supply chain, there were 35 employees, 12 applied. In administration, there were 4 employees, 2 applied. In engineering, there were 16 employees, 6 applied. In legal, there were 4 employees, 1 applied. In support services, there were 4 employees, 2 applied. That brings a total of 314 out of 1,029. Speaker, the payouts, the total cost of accrued vacation, it was some $2,165,769 and $769. Total cost of prorated Christmas bonus, $174,936. And when members see this, there's some mistake with the cents, so please ignore the cents column. Total cost of incentive bonus, $252,000. The Speaker, I'm not supposed to be controversial in this. When any member raises anything afterwards, I'll deal with whatever they raise. Total cost of incentive bonus, $252,467. Total cost of retraining assistance, and this is important, Mr. Speaker. The members of BPL who have retrained so that they go into other careers and continue to contribute to our economy. $187,000 based on applications and receipts provided. Total cost of medical contribution, $939,000. Total cost of severance pay, $31,761,940. And that's a total of $35,481.11 that BPL paid out. BPL paid that out. The Speaker, the other costs, total cost of pension gratuity, $1,741,000 and $6. Total cost of pension lump sum at 25%, $4,613,395.57. Total cost of pension lump sum at 50%, $28,567,802. Total payment that was made by the pension fund Ansbacher, that was $34,922,203. So, Mr. Speaker, this money is to be paid out essentially over a period of time. The money that was paid out on the 30th of June, as of the 30th of June, is $56,000,008,991. The total sum that will end up being paid out with this exercise is $70,403,315. Let me say that again. $70,403,315. Speaker, we seek to be transparent in what we do. I intend to table this document so that every member can see what we've done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the document be brought up. Order that the document will lie on the table. Further statements and communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Bamboo Town.
There are none, Mr. Speaker.
Communications by the clerk. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the Senate. I'm in possession of a message from the Senate that I propose to read and to deal with at consideration of Senate amendment further down in the order of business. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign seat, and new writs. Presentation of petitions. Presentation of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Carmichael.
Speaker, I beg leave to introduce and have read for the first time a bill for an act to amend the Roads Act. And just a quick explanation, sir. This is an amendment we are seeking to increase penalties for people cutting into our roads, utilities and contractors cutting and not fixing them properly. The Roads Act was passed in, I believe, 1968, and since then has not been amended. And there was a fine of $75 for these infractions. We seek to increase the fine to $10,000. I think every single Bahamian wants the opportunity to drive on roads that are safe and roads that are in a particular condition. And we are seeking by this amendment to be able to ensure that people who repair our roads do so properly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, honorable member. Is there a second? Order that the bill be brought up. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for the first time. A bill for an act to amend the Roads Act. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for the first time.
A bill for an act to amend the Roads Act.
For the first reading of bills.
No further first readings, Mr. Speaker.
Second reading and committal of bills. Committee of the whole House. Third reading and passing of bills. Consideration of Senate's amendments. David, here's the second half. Honorable members, I'm in possession of a message from the Senate. And before I begin, I would like to ensure that members on both sides are in possession of the recommended amendments from the Senate. Message to the Honorable Speaker and members of the Honorable House of Assembly from the Honorable President and Honorable members of the Senate. The Honorable Senate acquaints the Honorable House of Assembly that they have passed the following bill, accompanying message number 13, dated the 27th of June 2018 from the Honorable House of Assembly, having made the following amendments. And these amendments are to the Anti-Terrorism Bill 2018. Clause 5, subsection A, renumber subclauses 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 as subclauses 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 respectively. Subsection B, in the newly renumbered subclause 7, delete the words subsection 7 and substitute the words subsection 6. Under subclause, this is clause 5, subclause C. In the newly renumbered subclause 8, delete the words subsection 7 and substitute the words subsection 6. Under clause 7, subsection A, delete subclause 5. Clause 7, subsection B, renumber existing subclause 6 as new subclause 5. Under clause 14, in subclause 2, insert the words persons or before the word terrorists where it first appears. That is clause 14. In subclause 2, insert the word person or before the word terrorist where it first appears. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumpke, and San Salvador.
I don't know whether whether the leader of government business,
Pardon?
I don't know whether he got the message. Ordinarily, the messages would be shared, particularly where we will have amendments coming down from the House, from the Senate, from the upper house to the lower house. I'm wondering whether the leader of government business would have seen what is now being read. Because again, you have a challenge. Because the amendments that you're reading really, I had the occasion to share with my members in the upper house. And it really doesn't take into account what I understood to have happened in the house up there. So for example, in upper house. So for example, if any of you would have had, and this is why there's a process and a procedure in dealing with these matters. If you have the bill before you, and you look at section 14, the amendment should say, really, a person or a terrorist, to make it consistent with the language that is at subsection 1. Right? You have it? You have. Yeah, because I think I'm just catching up. I did not hear everything that was said, but I just looked at 14, and knowing what I did with my, having seen this document before, as was provided to me by the leader of government business in the upper chamber, I know that other amendments should have been made to this, and it was not made.
Honorable member, so that I follow you, are you suggesting that the document that you received from the upper house from your member is different from this document that I'm reading from?
What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that this document, as presented today, was brought to my attention by members in the upper chamber. And when I reviewed it with them, I pointed out to them that this document required further cleaning up. And it was agreed. And when I spoke with the member following the session, he indicated that those comments he made on it were taken into account. Huh? The leader, Senator Mitchell, I can show you what I meant. I mean, it's nothing controversial. In the Senate, yeah. I can show you if you look at the document.
Chair recognizes the honorable member for Carmichael.
Speaker, may I assist? We on this side are always grateful for the opportunity to sit with the opposition on matters that are important to national security. If the member opposite has raised something that is important to him and to the opposition, it's important for us to be able to hear him and to be able to consider it. And so I would ask that we move on from this at this stage so that we can have an opportunity to discuss it with them and see whether there are some concerns. If there are concerns, we would be happy to be able to seek to come to some consensus on it, if that is the concern.
I would want to consider is whether what I'm suggesting could be taken care of by the slip rule. Otherwise, it would require it going back up to the upper chamber. But I could, and I understood from my member that this matter really ought to be dealt with today. So if you want to take a 5-minute break, 5-minute break. Yeah. I could show you.
So we, as I indicated, these are important matters of national security.
Very important.
And if there's any concern, we certainly would like to speak with members opposite about anything, if there's a slip rule or whatever. And so we would like to be able to come back and deal with this next week after we've had an opportunity to speak with him and with his lead in the Senate. These are, I don't want to take chances with anything that relates to national security. And we'd be grateful if we can pass on this matter on the agenda and have the opposition and the government speak and discuss any concerns that they have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member for Cat Island, Rumpkins, and Salvador, is there any objections to?
Very quickly share and copy the document with my corrections. It should have been dealt with, which I understood was dealt with in the upper chamber.
Their corrections.
Added to consider whether the slip rule could deal with it, because if the slip rule cannot deal with it, then it may have to go back up. And we're trying to find the most convenient and efficient way of dealing with it. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Members. So, consideration of Senate amendments will be deferred to next week, Wednesday. Okay, moving ahead on the order of business, we are at the point of resolutions. Resolutions? The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for...
resolutions, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Members' statements. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Angliston.
I see I'm out of your range, Mr. Speaker, this morning. That's a good thing, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I wanted to take this opportunity to send congratulations and express an appreciation for the life of Hattie Mama Gardner Sweeting. I believe she might be in the Yamacraw constituency, or it may be Elizabeth, I'm not sure. But I think she's in the Elizabeth Estates community. But she has connections in the Angliston constituency. And she was born July 1918 and celebrated her 100th birthday. And I had the opportunity and the privilege to celebrate with her on Sunday at the Breezes, along with others. The former Member of Parliament for Yamacraw was also there, who spoke more intimately to the life of Hattie Sweeting, and spoke of the fact that this lady had such an incredible outreach to young people and was able to offer support and solace and confidence and advice to young people throughout her life. And then Ruby Nottage spoke at that event, and she was able to indicate to us that, in fact, this lady, Hattie Sweeting, actually was reared by Mother Butler, who was one of these great women in Bahamian history, who similarly had an outreach and, in a class by herself. And of course, we found out that she's also the aunt to Apostle Leon Wallace, who was there also to celebrate her life. And, it caused me to remember and to recall and to solidify in my mind that we have so many unsung heroes in this country that we sort of we don't focus on. And people like this woman help us to understand the meaning of that word when you consider the sacrifice and the high price paid and the courage and the selflessness that's required. And there's been a lot of debate recently on this issue of hero, and I think that we have to really begin to understand the meaning of that word and the requirement, the requisite accoutrement that is demanded of someone who has that title. It's a rare, rare, rare category of individual. Very few people in a lifetime. It's not just some casual appointment as part of some process. It's really a rare group. And this whole celebration this weekend caused me to understand that. And speaking about heroes, I want to note that today is the 100th birthday of Nelson Mandela, who is in set with Hattie Sweeting, who's still here. And at Hattie's birthday party, I was able to, I recalled or mentioned that very few people in a lifetime or on the planet reach this benchmark of 100 years and to still be breathing the oxygen that we all breathe. But Nelson Mandela would have celebrated his 100th birthday today. And I think that he would fit the description of a true hero. And I've described him as a global hero because of his inspiration, his sacrifice, the effect he's had on world politics in general. He spent 27 years in prison and fighting for his people and his country, and he captured the imagination of peoples everywhere. And interestingly, the Bahamas has played a role in his release with Sir Lyndon Pindling, who at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in the Bahamas was able to broker and to forcefully or strategically seek a consensus on the issue of the not trading with South Africa. And there were one or two major countries which were resisting for economic reasons, and one of them was the United Kingdom. And Sir Lyndon Pindling was able to very craftily end up with a solution or consensus on this issue. And as a result of that, Nelson Mandela was ultimately released, and the Bahamas played a pivotal role. Lyndon Pindling, who was recently noted as a national hero in this country, but he was respected in the region and in the Commonwealth and globally. He was known and noted for his work, and in particular, as it happens in the life of Nelson Mandela. And as you many of us may recall, Nelson Mandela came to the Bahamas not long after he was released to express gratitude. And in truth, my mother was the chairman of the committee against the apartheid, and in her office, which my mother's no longer with us, but in her office there was a letter written under the hand of Nelson Mandela, which she framed, where he expressed gratitude on his behalf, on behalf of the African National Congress, for the work of that committee in this country, the work of Pindling. So we have a proud heritage as a people, and we should always know our history. Because, Bob Marley says, if you know your history, then you will know where you're coming from. Then you wouldn't have to ask me who the hell I think I am. I know who I am. And I'm the product of a proud heritage as a Bahamian. And so I say that to say that we must ensure our people. Sorry? I speak for myself. I know you are too. When you get up, you can speak for Bamboo Town. Speaking for Engliston right now. Good. Very happy. And so, Mr. Speaker, we have to know our history, Mr. Speaker. Because if we don't know our history, Mr. Speaker, we run a risk. I call it rewiring and rewriting of history. And that has the effect of retarding a people. And we have to ensure that doesn't happen. So, Mr. Speaker, today I want to celebrate the life of Hattie Mama Gardner Sweeting on her 100th birthday. and celebrate the life and legacy of a Nelson Mandela and the role of our country and our leader at that time, Sir Lyndon Pindling, and the Bahamian people in the liberation of a Nelson Mandela. Don't look so, you look a bit, you okay over there? You look, Be happy for us, man. This is a happy time. We have a great legacy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Further member statements? The chair recognizes the honorable member for Yamakro.
Mr. Speaker, I stand this morning to recognize the gentleman who is near and dear to me. I know that there are those who may say that some of the things that he says is controversial, but I quite remember during my journey and going back to night school, he was instrumental in all of that. That is Bishop Rodney Roberts, who is now in hospital, and he's not doing so well. He's a man of the soil and 5 porches.
Really?
Yes. He never left his community, and he was able to transform the area that he grew up in. And I was just speaking to Minister Roll in the Grove by building an edifice and reinvesting and being proud of the over the hill community. But more than just that, he invested in the lives of the young persons who were around him. And I had the good privilege of being with him and being in a prayer group with him. And so he advised us to go back to school, to get our education, to make right decisions in our community. So as his body is being healed in the Princess Margaret Hospital, I just want the country to continue to pray for him. I know that the church in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas supports him, and I just wanted to recognize that. I would also like to express condolences to the Carey family, the young lady who lost her life off Gladstone Road. I had an opportunity to visit with that family, and I thank them for understanding my positioning in government and why it was very important to me and to them and to this country that I did not compromise my position in any way. But I do hereby express condolences to them and pray God's continued blessings on the family. I'd also like to join with Angliston in recognizing, as we celebrate the life, heritage, and work of Mr. Nelson Mandela and what he taught us about love. And one of the interesting things is when he left the prisons in South Africa, everybody thought it was time for retribution. But Mr. Mandela taught us a very excellent lesson in forgiveness, love, and how we, through our experience, can take humanity forward in a very significant way. So I join in celebrating the life and heritage of Mr. Mandela. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Further member statement? The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While I am standing, I'd also like to bring brief condolences to the family of my good friend and colleague, Mr. Sammy Gardner. Mr. Speaker, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the government of the Bahamas and to my senior minister, the Honorable T. Desmond Bannister, for affording me the opportunity to represent the Bahamas at the 9th Annual International Infrastructure Investment and Construction Forum held in Macau. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to thank China Harbor Engineering Company for hosting our delegation as coordinated by Mr. Shami Chen. Our delegation consisted of myself, along with Director of Public Works, Ms. Melanie Roach, Mr. CEO of BPL, Mr. Whitney Hasty, and Vice Chair of BPL, Mr. Patrick Rollins. Mr. Speaker, the forum covered a variety of topics ranging from advancement of technology in construction to funding through MDBs or multi-development banks to smart technology in buildings and open spaces. Mr. Speaker, it was noted that the construction industry is indeed responsible for some 30% of the global employment. Therefore, it is imperative that close attention is paid to this sector as it is a major driver of economies around the world. It is worth mentioning, Mr. Speaker, the BRI, or the Belt and Road Initiative. This is an initiative very important and highly effective program as designed by the Chinese government. Some of the objectives of this BRI initiative includes policy connectivity, facility connectivity, trade connectivity, project financing, people-to-people friendship. To date, the Chinese Development Bank has spent some $100 billion and is now active in 75 economic zones and 6 corridors. Mr. Speaker, the BRI, which is now in its 5th year, has been extended to LAC areas, which includes Latin America and the Caribbean, of which the Bahamas is a part. While there were numerous presenters at this forum, our delegation paid close attention to matters that were of relevance to the Bahamas. Technology and construction was one of those topics which focused on building information modeling, or BIM. 3D laser modeling, which is an advanced technology that can effectively and accurately produce topographical surveys. And this is extremely useful in areas like the glass window bridge. Smart digital security system was another forum attended where smart surveillance cameras are now being used. These cameras can be used in public, private, and open spaces, and they have the ability to read facial languages, facial expression, body languages, and other erratic behaviors that will indeed prevent or minimize criminal activities. Mr. Speaker, our team then traveled to Qingdao to visit several landmark projects as constructed by China Harbor, an engineering company. One of the largest bridge and longest bridge in the world was one of the sites that we visited. This bridge spans some 39 kilometers or 23.24 miles. It stands at 200 feet high and sits on 5,100 pillars embedded into the ocean floor. And to put that in perspective, our large national stadium only sits on 619. This project took some 10 years to be constructed. We then visited another landmark project, a 9.4 kilometer underwater tunnel. The length of some 9.4 kilometers or 6 miles. It took them another 6 years to construct. Our team then visited a solar plant, Mr. Speaker, a technology that incorporated renewable energy and vegetable production. It is a project that BPL paid close attention to, and it is one that we can mirror in Bamsi. Mr. Speaker, it was indeed a very eye-opening opportunity, and I would once again like to thank the Bahamas government for the opportunity, and some of the technology that we experienced, we will indeed bring it back home and make it worthwhile for our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Further member statements? The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Pine Ridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just rise to thank the good people of Pine Ridge because this weekend, Pine Ridge held its first annual slow pitch softball tournament, to which we had 9 teams participating. I wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate the Food Mart team and also the Pats uniform team, co-head team, and men's team, respectively, for winning the tournament. What was interesting, Mr. Speaker, it was a very interesting week in terms of weather, and there was a football field about 300 yards away from us. It rained all throughout Grand Bahama, but the rain never came to the field. But that God is good, and very grateful for that God actually helped us to make sure we had a successful tournament. And so it was the first annual, it was well attended, and so I wanted to congratulate those teams and indeed the community of Grand Bahama for their support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for East Grand Bahama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to express condolences on behalf of the residents of East Grand Bahama, and I think all of Grand Bahama, on the passing of Mr. Sammy Gardner, who was an educator in Grand Bahama for many years. I recollect that he was not shy when it came to applying the rod of correction. And while I was never one of those that got that rod, my brother was. No, my brother was. And so certainly he is well remembered for his days in education. But also he served a number of years in tourism, and particularly again in Grand Bahama, and distinguished himself and made his mark in the area of tourism. And so I just want to express condolences on behalf of the people of Grand Bahama, East Grand Bahama in particular, on his passing, and to remember a life well lived in service to our country. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to express condolences to the Garvey family in Grand Bahama, who lost their son in a very unfortunate accident. It can never be easy, no matter the circumstance, to lose a son, a child. And so we know the pain that they must be experiencing at this time. We just want to express our solidarity with them and express our condolences as they go through their period of mourning. May God grant them eternal rest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Mangrove Key, Central and South Andros.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as one lives, one must die. This morning, I'm saddened to share with the wider Bahamian public and also the world this morning my condolences to the family of the late Mr. Nelson Leeden of Cargill Creek, Andros, better known as Chucker, to his wife, especially his children, Cherie and Terrence and others. We are praying for them in the community of Cargill Creek. He'll be buried next weekend in that great community. Also, in the passing, I must note the passing of Mr. Isaac Rowe, we call him Heavy, of Black Point in South Andros, and especially to his children who would have attended the South Andros School with me, especially Val and Hazley and others. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you. In that community that is seeing the numbers dwindle over the years, our thoughts and our prayers are with them. But also, as I wrap up, and as we think about those who have passed, Sammy Gardner, I had a little mental trek about the days when I would have joined the Broadcasting Corporation, Mr. Speaker, as a youngster, and in the production department because they thought I was too young to become an engineer. And my cousin David Forbes would know of which I speak. And so the member for St. Barnabas, he would have been but a kid in the backyard because his father was an engineer at that time with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, Don Cartwright, my friend. And they were the days when you were getting ready for the new era in technology, and you still had the old editing machine with you did the cutting and the splicing. And only Anthony Foster and Craig Roll and others were pretty good with that process. But Sammy came for Gumby News back in the day. And they were the days when you took real good care of what you did as a production personnel. Sylvia Cole, Cheney program, and Mary's Notebook. And so today, Sammy Gardner would have given me the opportunity to record him as an island boy to an island boy. With a little small necktie on and coming through the door, he gave me an opportunity because the big products were at that time handled by the Anthony Foster and the Craig Rolls and the Sam Morley and the senior people as compared to the junior staff at the corporation in the mid to late 80s. So may their souls collectively rest in peace and rise in glory. Mr. Speaker, in my final 40 seconds, I'd like to thank my administrators in particular, Glenn Lightbourne and Central Andros. Mr. Lightbourne, I want to say thanks to you and local government practitioners there, and Chief Councilor Nemore. We had a great opportunity to the flag raising on the day prior to Independence Week, I think it's around the 6th or the 7th, to walk from the administrators complex to the, I call it Fresh Creek Square, for the flag raising ceremony. And on Sunday morning, I was on the boat to Mangrove Key to be at the St. Peter's Baptist Church, where the member for Southern Shores, we joined collectively in thanks and praise to God in Mangrove Key, along with Pastor Bastian, Reverend King, and also Pastor George Clark and others, to give God thanks for this great country of ours. Nowhere in the world is better than it is here in the Bahamas to give God thanks and praise. And on Sunday afternoon, we were to go on to Kemps Bay to join the Reverend Dr. Marion Forbes at Upper Mount Zion in the Kemps Bay in my hometown community to celebrate with our 6th pastoral anniversary. And on Monday evening, to be at the government's complex in the historic community of South Andros. But Mr. Speaker, in my final 15 seconds, what was most moving for me was to have the administrator, along with that great community coming together, to present me with a noble plaque, and I wish I had it here today to show you in this honorable place. It made me feel so special. It was almost what I call it was a very special moment. Because no matter what, when you would have given your best, try your hardest, so your people to say thank you personally, it's very moving. And I want to say, as they are listening today and viewing in South Andros, although our cable, unlike North Abaco, is very intermittent, I want to say to them today, thank you. Thank you for believing in your hometown boy. I stand here to represent you. And as you watch in Kemps Bay, in Little Harbor, Cargill Creek, or in Fresh Creek or Loveville and Andros, I want you to know whatever I do and how I comport and conduct myself will always be bearing you in mind so that we can grow and be a better community in South, Central, and Mangrove, Kansas. Mr. Speaker, God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Baines and Grantstown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One, I just want to congratulate you because 11 weeks ago I launched the Baines and Grantstown Center for Academic Development and Enrichment, and we had about 150 residents from the community participated in 11 weeks course in partnership with Exeter College. Since last week, the program came to an end. I'm excited that out of the 150 residents, 78 who successfully completed the course and now will receive their certificates and certifications in the various 4 courses that they would have been a part of. Also, Mr. Speaker, I wish this to bring to the attention of the host and my fellow colleagues, knowing that I had some time to try to hear from the industry. I've received a number of calls, both from my counterparts and colleagues in Paraguay and internationally, in reference to working with all the initial forces accidents that happened in the Latin Arizona. And so I suggested to ask the minister responsible for transport at the appropriate time update as to what the Ministry of Transport has done and will continue to do in accidents and issues like this, as well as the Minister of Tourism and Aviation. And I know that the Minister is working hard and over time to get our tourism product to where it should be. And so if he can also give to the host at the appropriate time an update as to what the Ministry of Tourism is doing to ensure that we get a handle on these type of stories as it has certainly reached international arena. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Carmichael.
Speaker, I rise to offer my condolences to a wonderful, special family in Carmichael. Mr. James Clare died last week. A very, very big shock to us in Carmichael of Hamburger Street. I want to offer my sincere condolences to his wife, Jennifer, and to his daughter, Jermaina Claire Taylor, who is an outstanding educator in our schools. And I want Jennifer to know, as I've told her, that we are here with her and we support her throughout. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to just thank the exceptional teachers we have in Carmichael. We started our summer school at the Gerald Cash Primary School on Monday. We started on Monday with 60 children. On Tuesday, there were 80. I'm scared to ask how many there are this morning, because it seems to be increasing exponentially. We have some exceptional teachers who are looking after those students. And I understand that the first 2 days they had some really wonderful activities. That summer school activity event is going to go on for the next few weeks. And we're looking forward to being able to have children opportunities to stay off the roads and be able to mix with their peers and have some learning experiences during the summer. So I'm grateful for the opportunity for us to have that summer school activity at the Gerald Cash Primary School. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for North Abaco.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to join in with Angliston and Yamacraw in commemorating a gentleman who since left us, Nelson Mandela, who I think epitomizes what we as a black people came through historically, but he also epitomizes what I think is the better part of human existence in the way that he preached reconciliation and forgiveness when others thought that he would go the other way. I was very proud as a Bahamian to be studying abroad and to be able to present on apartheid and what it meant, and to say that Sir Lyndon Pindon in the Bahamas, the Bahamian people, played a role in causing Nelson Mandela to be freed from prison. Very proud as a Bahamian to be able to say that. And so I join in with them in commemorating his life and his legacy. I'd also like to commend, Mr. Speaker, the member for Fort Charlotte for what he was able to do in this recent independence commemoration that we had. You know, sometimes we get very little thanks, Fort Charlotte, and we can be overshadowed by so many things that are, you know, not as significant as the work that you have done. You're able to do exceptionally well. And Mr. Speaker, in that vein, I commend also the senior administrator from Abaco, Maxine Duncombe, and her team, who oversaw our independence celebration. I think she and her team did a fantastic job. I'm learning from you, South Andros. I think she and her team did a wonderful job of activities all across the island. I keep saying to my colleagues from Grand Bahama that Abaco is the second city. I keep saying it to my colleagues, Mr. Speaker. And at our cultural event, on Monday night at the BIIC Park in Marsh Harbor, we had in attendance between 1,300 and 1,500 people. You had 6,000? Well, you got a bigger population. But and Mr. Speaker, you know, if I hadn't known any better, I would think we were in Clifford Park. Because Chief Superintendent Mortimer and his team put on a wonderful parade, which I had an opportunity to inspect, and took alongside me the member for South and Central Abaco. Because as a military officer, you know, these are very proud moments for us. But before I take my seat, Mr. Speaker, please allow me to extend heartfelt condolences to the family of Nigel Boodle. Big Nige, who died suddenly about 2 weeks ago. I often refer to him as a gentle giant, a young man who really epitomized what it is to build community. He recently had a group of young people to Grand Bahama, which we were able to assist with for a softball tournament, and we need more people like Big Nige. People who don't come to the MPs for themselves, but come for their communities. I think if we had more people like him in the Bahamas, we'd be a far better nation. And so to his family, Jenny and the children, I extend my profound condolences. And to the entire community of North Abaco, Everett Boodle in particular, his father. And so he's going to be sorely missed. And if we were in the country, we would be no place else but attending his funeral. And lastly, to the family of Ordnell McIntosh, I spent some time at Rosnay. Wasn't able to make it to the funeral because of my travels. And so I say to them, you know, sometimes we question the things that God does, but our faith teaches us that he does all things well. And so we will continue to pray for them. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Bamboo Town.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For Town had asked a couple of questions, and as the acting Minister of Tourism and the substantive Minister for Transport, I would simply say that the matter that he had asked about, the ministry issued a press release yesterday addressing the issues that are out there in the blogosphere and the stuff that was printed in the papers yesterday. So we've already addressed that issue. But I would add to that that the matter now is under investigation by the most professional maritime organization on the planet, which is the Bahamas Maritime Authority. And when they have completed their investigation, the Bahamas government will determine what it will do from there.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Centerville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to acknowledge that the young ladies are getting a bit tired, so I wanted to acknowledge that they will be leaving now, and so that there's no disruption.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
You could leave. Thank you.
Further member statements? The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Fox Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I rise on behalf of the good people of Fox Hill, at whose pleasure I serve. I would like to add my voice to that of North Abaco in commending Fort Charlotte for a fabulous independence celebration. I was particularly pleased with the beach retreat on Bay Street. I thought the armed services did a fantastic job, and I also commend him. Some of us might feel certain ways about some things. I commend him that he is portraying history. Clifford Park, our armed forces, especially the police, with that special happy 45th was beyond anything that I had ever seen anywhere about any other marching band. So a special commendation to our police force, defense force, and Department of Corrections. And please note that I said the Department of Corrections. And please do not refer to it as the Fox Hill Prison. Thank you. I would also like to bring to your attention, Mr. Speaker, that Friday marks the beginning of the Fox Hill Festival 2018. In that regard, the Prime Minister has declared 30 days of celebration as a Fox Hill Festival month. Fox Hill has one of the oldest celebrations in the Bahamas, over 180 years old. And the tradition continues with the opening ceremonies this Friday on the Fox Hill Parade beginning at 8 p.m. And we invite you to join us for a fabulous time. So we have 30 days of events starting on Friday and going all the way through to the 14th of August. John Canoe, and something that the men came up with, there's an ugly man contest. And the women didn't come up with that, the men did. So we invite men from all over to sign up and for that prize. We also do, in addition to Fox Hill Day, which is which is part of the consciousness of the entire country. Everybody knows about Fox Hill Day. We've added a heritage exhibit, which will be at the community center, which shows, as Angliston said, and North Abaco and Yamakra, if we don't know where we've come from, it's difficult to chart a path where we're going. And so in Fox Hill, we keep that front and center. And so you will be able to see the old goose. You can see what's called a hook, if many of you remember what a hook is. You'll be able to see box carts. You'll be able to see bird catching cages, things that people made grits from, things that people made corn from. All of these things will be on display in Fox Hill. And so in my last 40 seconds, Mr. Speaker, I welcome the Bahamas and the world to Fox Hill beginning Friday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Garden Hills.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of the wonderful people of the Garden Hills constituency, Mr. Speaker, and congratulate them on their celebration of independence, independence celebration. Mr. Speaker, I also want to commend the members of the Independence Celebration Committee and Mr. MP for Port Charlotte, and by extension, the great people of Exuma, where I had the opportunity with my colleague, the MP for Exuma and Ragged Island, to celebrate with them during this independence. Yes, I went home. But Mr. Speaker, of importance to all of us was the message delivered by Father Eaton Ferguson in the ecumenical service, where he brought the whole transformational, perhaps the most inspirational message I've heard from a young man in all my life. Mr. Speaker, he spoke about the connection of VAT and the community. And I wish I had recorded that service, Mr. Speaker, because he was talking about the test that the Master Mayor placed on us. And so I want to commend Father Ferguson and the entire organizational committee from Exuma for a wonderful, wonderful celebration. And I hear my colleague from Abaco saying that they had 1,500. As I looked through the crowd, I thought it was 2,000 in Exuma. And I just want to remind the Member of Parliament for Fox Hill that I hope she got permission from Mr. Moses Smith, the founder and CEO of the Ugly Man Contest. Because Moses has said to all of us that he cannot take any more. The applications are all full. And this summer in Exuma, the Ugly Man Contest will be on full parade. So if you have one last person from Fox Hill who would wish to join, we invite you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's have a ugly man.
Honorable members, we have gone beyond the time limit for member statements. However, the chair will accommodate members who, as we approach to the lunch time period, who would like to make a statement on behalf of their constituency. The chair recognizes the honorable member from Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd first like to extend condolences to my good friend Sharon Jolly, who tragically lost a son in the U.S. Just recently, and to the entire Jolly family. Condolences to Mrs. Elodie Forbes and the family on the passing of Timothy Big D Forbes, who buried last week Saturday. And condolences to the family of Ramanda Culmer Seymour of Dampier Drive, also buried last week. And condolences to the family of Lionel Daniel of Glenburn Drive. And we are praying for those families, and we stand in the gap with them. I'd also, Mr. Speaker, to give congratulations to the West End and 8 Mile Rock and Bimini Member of Parliament and team, who Senator Kay Forbes Smith and myself had the honor of spending time with them as the Member of Parliament traveled internationally, and to say what a wonderful time we had celebrating independence with them. And of course to Mr. Neil Campbell, Mandy, the entire Cat Island team that pulled together for really the largest function I had seen in Cat Island. The independence celebration I thought was remarkable. The camaraderie between all of the residents was just simply incredible. Special thing is happening in Cat Island. Many activities are occurring, and I'm certain the Member of Parliament is quite happy to see what is occurring. I'd also like to say to the residents of Marco City that it has really been an honor spending time visiting homes over the recent weeks, hearing what the concerns have been. And I look forward this weekend to the Grand Bahama Regatta and encouraging all Marco City residents to come out and support the Marco City boat. You know, all of the 5 constituencies have boats that are competing, and we think it's a wonderful gesture by the committee, so I'm encouraging residents of Marco City to join us at the regatta site so that we can have a wonderful time.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for St. Barnabas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for giving me the press and opportunity to stand here this afternoon, this morning, on behalf of the people for St. Barnabas. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to join with the member for Yamako to join with him in prayer for Portsmouth. Reverend Robert, who is, of course, a picture of the globe and St. Barnabas constituency. And I often like to see prayer for him and his family during this time. I also would like to extend congratulations to another fixture here in its church's name and institution, First Baptist Church, Reverend Diana Francis, who has received a Doctor of Divinity, so she's now Reverend Dr. Diana Francis, so we definitely would like to congratulate her and the work that both her and, of course, Reverend Robert continue to do for the growth. Mr. Speaker, also would like to inform the residents, the constituents of St. Barnabas, that we have secured building for the St. Barnabas Community Center, Market Street. So we are preparing the building as we speak, and we are looking forward to opening the community center within the next couple of weeks, where we will be able to facilitate a lot of the community programs we have envisioned for St. Barnabas. While I'm on my feet, the St. Barnabas constituents would like to extend gratitude to the Ministry of Work and Minister of Work and his leadership for the catering of for Coral Avenue as complete. And we know that right now, water and sewer, so we also want to thank members of Long Island and East Yorkshire, one of the water and sewer corporations for what they're doing on Coconut Grove Avenue. We have been made aware of the Ministry of Work and showing that they are complete with their work, that Coconut Grove Avenue will be paid. Also, Mr. Speaker, lastly, about 2 weeks ago, members of the Barnabas constituency celebrated with the graduates, all of the graduating students of St. Barnabas. And I've always believed, Mr. Speaker, that we cannot be serious about national development if we are not serious about youth development. And so we were excited to have parents and the graduates there. We had a great time. First, we brought them a report card and received some rewards for making honor rolls and so forth, and doing as well as they did over the last year. And we continue to wish them the best in their endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Golden Gates.
Speaker, I rise on behalf of the wonderful people of Golden Gates. Mr. Speaker, we in Golden Gates, a lot like the honorable member, my good friend from Carmichael, he talked about the summer program that they're doing for the young people in Carmichael. We too, in Golden Gates, started a summer camp yesterday. It's a basketball summer camp. And a lot of people know the person who is conducting the camp, but they know the person from that school out in the east, specifically SAC, St. Augustine's College, and the Big Red Machine. And so a lot of people recognize the person from the wonderful job he's done there at SAC and the basketball team there. But, Mr. Speaker, I knew him before he went to SAC. He was at S.C. McPherson Junior High on Blue Hill Road, and I met him there, and we talking about Coach John Todd. He was the PE teacher when I was at S.C. McPherson, and so we are very pleased that he's running the camp for us, and he's got a lot of assistance and a lot of help. And we've also included a lot of young people in the camp to assist him, which is, as the good member from Carmichael said, it's a wonderful thing to have so many of our young people in good, wholesome activity and things that would improve them throughout the summer. The ages start as low as 6, so we are involving our young men, our boys, and it goes to 14, but also, it also includes girls. So it is both boys and girls, and I don't think we've had quite the numbers that Carmichael has had, but we've had some very good numbers. And we're very pleased to offer yeah. We're very pleased to offer the basketball camp for the people in Golden Gates. And we've also started a cleanup campaign in Golden Gates. We had dumpsters placed at an area that really covered 2 of our polling divisions. And I want to say a special thank you to the Honorable Minister of the Environment and Housing for Marathon, Romel Ferreira, who was also very helpful in that, in us getting that done. And I must say, people really responded. We had dumpsters there almost for an entire week, 7 days, every day. And they were filled every day, and we had them dumped and brought back every day. And thanks again to the Honorable Minister for the assistance in that program. And consistent with that, we're trying to get people, as we are getting deep into the hurricane season, Mr. Speaker, to remove any debris and that sort of thing from around their homes. We know it's a challenge for everyone. And so at the end of this month, we're also planning a hurricane preparedness town hall meeting. We have not confirmed the date quite as yet. We're close to confirming the date. But as soon as we know the date, we'll communicate that with the residents. And again, we think it's, again, part of this overall approach to ensuring the residents of Golden Gates are in the best position as we go deeper into this hurricane season. Traditionally, we know August and September have been the real dangerous months for the hurricane season. And so we're trying to do our best in Golden Gates to prepare our residents. Consistent with that also, Mr. Speaker, we are very actively involved in removing derelict vehicles. I think most members here in this chamber face the same issues in their constituencies, and we are very active in trying to remove as many derelict vehicles. And so if you have a derelict vehicle in your neighborhood, on your street, please call our office. We are making every effort to move as many of them as possible, and it's not easy. Some of them, it's not a challenge. People are happy because they want to move the derelict vehicle from their homes. Others, as we all know, some people are using them for scrap. And so those are more challenging situations, but we are addressing them all the same. And also consistent with that, Mr. Speaker, we have engaged in a tree trimming program, and we have had a number of persons who responded, and they need to have trees trimmed, and we're doing our best to trim as many trees in Golden Gates. Again, as we get deep into this hurricane season, we really are trying to prepare Golden Gates as best we can for this hurricane season. And finally, Mr. Speaker, also consistent with that, we're also doing some lot clearing in Golden Gates, and that's an issue for all of us in the chamber, I'm sure. Overgrown lots with any manner of things in the lots where the lots are overgrown, and we are doing our best to get those in order. And finally, we have been doing some work on all of the courts. We have a number of basketball courts in Golden Gates that have needed work, and we have repaired the courts at Southern Heights. And I must say, the minute the courts were repaired, we had about 40 young men on the courts that same evening, taking advantage of it, which is wonderful. And it's good, again, it's wholesome activity for our young men, and we are happy to do that. We've also done it at the court at the farmers market. That is also, quote, up and running, so to speak. And we are moving about to make sure that all the courts during the summer are available to the young people, our boys and our girls. And so, Mr. Speaker, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Tall Pines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes I was wondering if you were missing your good deputy speaker over here, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always a pleasure to rise on behalf of the people of Tall Pines. Mr. Speaker, I, like my colleagues, wish to just quickly give condolences to Ms. Kim Cartwright, who was a hardworking employee of Bahamas Air for many, many years. Her son, Anthony Thompson, would have tragically been shot in Faith Avenue 2 weeks ago. 28-year-old young resident of Jubilee Gardens, and he was laid to rest last week, Friday. The whole Jubilee family, and indeed the Tall Pines family, we were quite saddened by that experience and her loss. So we want to say to her, and we want to say to the entire Jubilee family that our prayers remain with them. To the Speaker, in any event, I had the opportunity to speak to a lot of the young people there in Jubilee this weekend and assure them of this government's commitment to continue to fight crime and to bring about community initiatives to help build our communities instead of cutting short the lives of so many of our productive young Bahamians. And Tony was indeed a productive Bahamian with a bright, bright future. And so to Ms. Cartwright and the entire Jubilee community within the Tall Pines constituency, I want to give my condolences. As they so eagerly, Mr. Speaker, anticipate the good words of the member for Marathon and the member of the Environment, I told them that the future is going to be bright. We look forward to his future announcement with regards to the landfill. Very eager, and I've promised them that we would have a town hall meeting with regards to that particular issue once the minister and the government has announced their final decisions. Mr. Speaker, I also wish on behalf of the people of Tall Pines to congratulate the good member for Fort Charlotte. Mr. Speaker, before coming back to Nassau, I was able to visit my second hometown, or my original hometown, North Andros, and I want to congratulate him for a wonderful regatta in North Andros in the Berry Islands. Mr. Speaker, I think the independence celebrations went very, very well, and I was happy to return back home. Finally, Mr. Speaker, while I talked about the sadness in Jubilee Gardens, I also wish to congratulate Ms. Tanya Monker, who has decided to put together a prom for challenged children to initiate the Tall Pines residents really looking out for persons, young people in the community in Tall Pines and in other areas of the Bahamas, where she'll be hosting or leading a group of individuals who will be having prom for our challenged children. A lot of times, Mr. Speaker, I think all of us in this house would have had an opportunity to go to their high school prom or their primary school prom. But we always forget these young people who may be sick, may be challenged, and for some reason they're not given that opportunity. So I want to thank Tanya Monker for leading this initiative. Tall Pines have provided a donation, and we're going to encourage anyone who's interested who has a special child, and I say that respectfully, to contact the Tall Pines constituency office and see how your child or your family member could be a part of this special event this weekend. Mr. Speaker, finally, Nelson Mandela came to the Bahamas when I was at the College of the Bahamas as Vice President of COBAS. And I remember being one of the students that presented him with the special gift from the College of the Bahamas and from the Bahamas. And so when the good member for Angleston spoke of Nelson Mandela, I thought back at my younger days, and I thought back at the contribution that he has made to all of us and encourage us. Many of us in here are very young politicians, and I think most of us would have been inspired by the leadership and the courage of Dr. or Mr. Nelson Mandela. So Tall Pines extends its happy birthday wishes, notwithstanding his death, to Nelson Mandela, and we pray that his example for us will be continuous, and it will be an example for all Bahamians, especially us in this honorable House of Assembly. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and God bless Tall Pines. And thank you for acknowledging me, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy. It's always good when the Honorable Deputy acknowledges the recognition of this chair. And by no means, Honorable Deputy, was there any intent by the chair not to. Yes. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central and South Eleuthera.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I rise on behalf of the good people of Central and South Eleuthera
Today, Mr. Speaker, I choose to take another avenue where one would reflect 45 years ago, Mr. Speaker, a nation that were not able to defend themselves if it was necessary, and a nation who did not have their finances in order took a leap of faith. And 45 years later, Mr. Speaker, we are one of the greatest nations in the world. Mr. Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to say a special thank you to the Administrator Gary Knowles in the South Eleuthera District, and to Mr. Gilbert Kemp in Central Eleuthera, Mr. Speaker. Those two gentlemen and their team and their heads of departments and the local government practitioners have put on a display this year that I was more than pleased, and the people of Eleuthera are grateful for what they have done to celebrate in the celebration of our independence. But Mr. Speaker, sometimes we forget our armed forces. I want to send out a special thank you to Chief Superintendent Mr. Adderley and his team this year for the work that they're doing in the district, and also, Mr. Speaker, for the display that they put on during the independence celebration in Central Eleuthera. Mr. Speaker, it made me proud, and the people of Central are more than grateful. So happy Independence, Bahamas, and thank you very much.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the honourable member for North Eleuthera.
Mr. Speaker, I too would like to join the chorus in congratulating and thanking the member for Port Charlotte for the magnificent job he did in the independence celebrations. But I also want to recognize the activities of those celebrations that took place in the constituency of North Eleuthera. We must have been inspired by the work that we saw Port Charlotte undertaking and making sure that the independence celebration was a success. And so we had the very same successes in North Eleuthera. On the 9th, that Monday, we had a overwhelming crowd at Spanish Wells, where we started at 7 p.m., and that was followed by celebrations in the Bogue from 9 p.m. to 11, and then we commenced celebrations in Harbor Island from 11 until. And at each of those celebrations, we were graced with the police performing a color guards ceremony. And in Spanish Wells was particularly nice because they just received a fire truck, and for many of you that know that we have been challenged with firefighting apparatus in North Eleuthera. We also, on that note, are anticipating the arrival of a piece of equipment that we feel that will be able to help us in the continuous fight against fires in North Eleuthera with a truck that will be coming for the mainland of North Eleuthera. I also want to send a special thanks to Sergeant Taylor, who is doing a tremendous job with the summer camp program. You know, you just can't thank some of these persons who provide all of these activities in your constituency that help and meet the needs of our young people. Too often they are left with nothing to do, and so, like my grandmother used to always say, idle hands is the devil's tools. And so we're hoping that that does not happen. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to invite all of my colleagues and the wider Bahamas to attend the upcoming Fisherman's Fest that will be held this Friday and Saturday in Harbor Island. I'm sorry, in Spanish Wells. It is a festival that all the fishermen get together and have a community event for 2 days prior to them leaving or going out to sea at the start of the new season for the crawfish. And so we're anticipating a very large crowd and a fantastic program, so we want you all to come up. My special invitation I'm sending out to the minister, and we'll see you this weekend at the Fisherman's Fest. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, we will permit just 2 more members. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Michael.
I just want to thank the fine people of the Michael constituency on last week. When we had the visit with the Prime Minister and myself, the fine administrators who accommodate us, and for the awesome time that we had during our town meetings, and for the attendance and the turnout. It speaks volume of our government and the way forward and what we intend to continue to do for the Southeastern Islands. They were well pleased, they were well informed, and they were thankful that they had the Prime Minister himself who engaged them one-on-one. And so for this, I want to say thank you, Michael constituency, and together we will continue to excel. And also to my colleague, Mark Humes, for an awesome job during the 45th Independence celebration. And I want to say to you, what an awesome, phenomenal time it was. I had a time of my life. It was exciting. And I want to encourage you to continue to do what you do best, continue to serve the Bahamian people. And also, to this end, I want to thank my family for the support that they have given me throughout the time serving in the capacity as the Member of Parliament for Michael. And hats off to this government who is doing all in its power to do what we had set out to do, and that's to do the people's job. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Pinewood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pinewood. And I want to start, because I think it's a very unique angle, with supporting wholeheartedly the expression made of member Mark Holmes, the chairman of our Independence Committee, but also the technical team, ZNS, compared to last year and most definitely years before. It truly was a stellar one. But what stood out was, in my capacity as High Commissioner, I had the pleasure of sharing again with the Bahamian diaspora in Miami, along with Consul General Mackey and staff, at an ecumenical service at St. Agnes Episcopal Church. Reverend Father Denrick Roll is director there. We'd be surprised to know how deep our bench is. I think we have more churches in Miami than we have in Vaux Hill. And it was attended by well over 300 Bahamians of wide-ranging scope. Why is this important and significant to mention is that at the appropriate time after the service, numerous Bahamian residents in the United States came up to me and expressed how they were impacted by the independence celebration. And sometimes you listen to people and you could tell that they're just saying. A couple came to me, a husband and wife, and almost like in a blaming way, saying how they were riveted to their seats. And how they saw me and they named other persons who they saw, and I listened more, and they began to speak about how clearly the imaging was of the performance. And I was there, so I can't see what was on TV. They spoke about the aerial views from the drones and the details, and they could tell what was happening on the motorbike. So what I'm saying is that it was so well laid out that persons abroad were complimenting it and saying, wow, you guys streamed this in HD. And this is what they're saying. And it was a good feeling to see that our people was able to participate, not only hearing from my colleagues in the Family Islands, but internationally in that event. And to me, that adds a valid point to say that it really was a good success. I do want to note, though, because sometimes they say the devil is in the detail. I like to say that the angels are in the detail. Many persons may not have noticed the enrollment of our female officers in that celebration, doing so many things because they were so adorned or clad in their uniforms that you may not have recognized that there were the ladies taking down or the ladies on the bikes and the ladies in the military equipment. And I think that also spoke volumes. As to Pinewood, I want to remind them, as I may not have had the opportunity in previous debate, let them know that the vexing issue of that gas company in our community has been addressed, and I want to thank the Minister of Public Works. I've seen the documentation, and the orders have been issued to cease, desist, and remove, and be removed from the community. It is a hazard for those people on Walnut Street to have 5 huge tanker trucks in the community with propane gas. However, I noticed that they're still there. I'll be following up on that. And I will take this next few weeks to ensure that Pinewood piece of the pie, as stated in the budget debate, is begin to be served. Because I understand there are a number of works that we have submitted that would have been approved, and we will ensure that we get some information as to the timeline and follow up on things that need to be done. I want to reiterate, because there are things that do vex me rather much so, that there has been no movement on the cleaning of our drains, but those things will be looked at and be followed through. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say thank you to the residents, and I want to invite them in my final note. I need them to come into the office. Present your community ideas. This is your home, you know. I want a greater spirit of volunteerism in our community. I need to see persons who have compassion for kids, community development, to step up to the plate. And during this summer, we prepare ourselves for this 2018-2019 year of service for the community of Pinewood. Again, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair wishes to join in the chorus in commending the Honorable Member for Fort Charlotte on a job well done. I've received numerous emails and WhatsApp messages indicating that for the first time in a long, the spirit of nationalism and patriotism seemed to have permeated the entire archipelago. And that was basically due to the efforts of your Independence Committee. There were a number of persons who suggested that I bring it to the attention of the Independence Committee that perhaps, under Minister of Finance, that perhaps there can be some revenue generation from the publication and distribution of the video production on Fort Charlotte. People were most impressed with the production in terms of the cultural production as well as the performance of the armed forces in the nation. With respect to Nassau Village, I want to thank the people of Nassau Village, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to represent them. We are in the process now of drilling all of the wells and cleaning the wells in Nassau Village, in the Nassau Village community, to minimize the flooding opportunities as we move through this hurricane season and this rainy season. We are well on the way. That project is expected to be finished by the end of the month. I want to thank the Minister of Works for the road paving works and for the installation of speed bumps in Sumner Street in particular. And I want to thank the Minister in advance for the continued road paving, particularly of Alexandria Boulevard, and the continued installation of speed bumps. The community of Nassau Village now is experiencing a summer camp hosted at the community center. And we feel so proud of that because we have the young children in air-conditioned facilities. It's amazing to see some of the products that they have made within the first 2 weeks of the camp. And we're looking forward to the movie day on Friday and the field trip at the end of the camp in August. And so we want to also remind the residents in Nassau Village that we are beginning to launch a cleanup campaign. I've spoken with the Minister of the Environment, who has given me the assurance that we will move through Nassau Village together, shoulder to shoulder, in our efforts to clean up the community and to remove all derelict vehicles. And so I'm putting every resident in Nassau Village on notice today that we intend to remove all derelict vehicles. If you have derelict vehicles, particularly on public property and on the public parks, you are hereby put on notice that those vehicles should be moved voluntarily, and if not moved voluntarily, they will be moved involuntarily by the government. Because we need to change and transform these communities. We cannot continue to waste the taxpayers' money week after week, month after month, and clean up only to have residents dump the very next week or the very next month. Something has to be done about that. And your member of parliament for Nassau Village intends to let Nassau Village be an example of what can be done when a community pulls together to clean up its environment. Thank you very much. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Marathon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's only that you touched on something that's represented by the Ministry of Environment and Housing, which is that something has to be done, and something will be done. I wish to advise this House and its honorable members that we have reconstituted our prosecutorial team at the Department of Environmental Health Services. They have completed their training, and I've instructed them to go with the same excitement, enthusiasm, vim, and vigor as sometimes demonstrated by the good member from Engliston, but always demonstrated from this side in terms of their prosecutions and their taking charge of the situation, Mr. Speaker. And also, Mr. Speaker, while I'm on my feet, I would be remiss if I did not extend heartfelt condolences to Angela Cartwright on the passing of her son, Kelly Cartwright. I've known Angela Cartwright all of my life, Mr. Speaker, and there was a time that my mother spent 5 years in hospital, and I owe much to the love and appreciation of Angela Cartwright, and I want to remind her that our love is going to make it, and I will see her on Saturday. Thank you very much. On Friday. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Appointment of select committees. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Centerville.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I would have given notice to the House to have the appointment of a select committee, and that notice was given on April 18th, 2018. I didn't get to this point earlier, but the rules book, Rule 47(2), indicates that if 3 months have elapsed after notice of a motion and no further action has been taken on it, the motion shall be dropped from the order paper unless the House otherwise decides. That brings me to July 18th, which is today. Exactly 3 months. And so I am prepared today to bring a motion to have a select committee on natural resources and the sovereign fund. I have called for a select committee.
Honorable member.
Yeah.
I do note
Okay.
that.
Should I sit?
Yes, honorable member. I do note that your notice was given on the 18th of April, and usually upon adjournment, we call for members to renew all notices, and all matters are renewed. So your select committee, there's no risk of it being taken off the agenda at this time, and it is difficult at this time for us to proceed, having not been given notice of your intention to proceed today. And so, if you would be kind enough to give the House notice of your intention to proceed on the date that you intend to proceed, we will be better prepared to proceed on your matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I do appreciate the advice and what you would have said. I just and that was one of the reasons why earlier I spoke about rules, because I wanted to ensure that we were in accordance with the rules.
Honorable member.
I'm getting to the...
Honorable member, I'm trying to suggest to you that the rules are not an issue here with respect to your select committee. All the chair needs basically from you is a notice of the date that you intend to proceed, so that the House can be prepared on that date. It was not the purpose of the House or the intention of the House to stall or delay the appointment of your select committee.
Okay, so much obliged, Mr. Speaker. We would like to serve. I'd like to serve notice today that we would do it next Wednesday, which is the 25th of July.
Honorable member, now we would seek to accommodate you next Wednesday, but I've already received notice of the agenda for next Wednesday, and next Wednesday and Thursday, as a matter of fact. And I have also received an indication that perhaps after Thursday, the House would go into recess for the summer period. We would see how best we can accommodate you before the recess. But we take note of your intention to proceed next week, Wednesday.
Much obliged, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Instructions to select committees. Discharge of select committees. Notices of future meetings. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Angliston.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I wish to give notice of the following questions for the Prime Minister. 1. Will the Prime Minister advise whether new boards have been yet appointed as a consequence of the expiry of all boards with effect from the 30th of June 2018? 2. If new boards have been appointed, will the Prime Minister advise as to the new leadership and membership of each board, and when same will be gazetted in accordance with law? 3. If the boards have not yet been appointed, will the Prime Minister advise as to the legal status of the governance of these boards?
Thank you, honorable member.
Thank you.
Order that the questions be brought up.
Before the leader of government business stands his feet, I'd also like for you to, Mr. Speaker, as a man of good conscience, to give some good grace to the and consideration to the member for Centerville. Let us leave it like that. You're my friend. But I'd also like to note the fact that all other notices standing in the name of Her Majesty's loyal opposition remains. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Chair recognizes the honorable member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to renew all matters in the name of the government and to signal that the House will adjourn until 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 25th of July, 2018.
Second.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the business of this House do adjourn to 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 25th of July, 2018. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Final adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I do now move that the House do adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the business of this House do adjourn to the 25th of July at 10 a.m. 2018. The business of this House now stands adjourned to 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 25th of July 2018.